Hey, Ben Costa. Hey, whoever's name I can't read. No friction. It's in a funny color, so I can't read it. You still have time to post it. We don't have a lot of games today. Tortellino. I've been streaming so long, like 8 years. I just got nothing to say. I've said it all many times. Jordan is on a watch streak. I don't know if that's good, but sounds good. I have coffee and sparkling water. I don't think I'm high enough. Yeah, that makes more sense. I like Bill Burr a lot, and Karen hates him. She thinks he's very misogynist. Which is probably true. I left to go smoke something because I wasn't high enough. Exactly. Thanks for the big love and respect. Right back at you. Hey, Mark. Welcome home to Michigan. It was 75 here today. That was pretty good. Well, that's good. Yeah, I'm in suburban Atlanta. I'm not in Michigan. It's probably in the 30s or 40s in Michigan. Mark knows because he's there. Oh, Bonarici's there too. Everybody's in Michigan but me. Did you like Perrier? I haven't had Perrier in a long time. The person on YouTube, NRU. Go Michigan. First time chatters from Michigan. Michigan State plays tonight. Michigan already made it to the Sweet 16. Mildly surprising. What do I need to get 2,400 from 2,100? 300. Welcome to this stream. Go Canada. Yes, Tom Izzo is a great coach. It's Yabba Dabba Doo 2. Boogaloo. Can somebody give Yabba Dabba Doo 2 a sub? There's two things about Yabba Dabba Doo. Either he's a sub or he's banned. There's no in the middle. Are you sure Karen wasn't mixing up Bill Burr with Bill Maher? She definitely was not. It's Sub Sunday, so if somebody asks for a sub, somebody in the chat is required to give them a sub. I don't make the rules, I just make them up. I guess, unless I go off on one of my crazy tangents, which is possible, we'll have a lot of time left in the stream when I'm done analyzing the games. Then I'll just pretend it's Sub Saturday and play subs. But it's possible I go off on a tangent and we never look at games and I go crazy. Not sure why I do that. It kills time. If people spend as much time studying chess rather than wondering about their rating, their ratings would go up. The two mistakes chess players make is they talk about their rating nonstop, and they talk about how they know or don't know openings nonstop. If you guys would stop doing that, then you'd get better at chess. But nobody will ever stop doing that. So everybody is underrated, and everybody doesn't know the opening, and if they did, they'd be 2,500. You just uploaded the game on Discord. No, I have more work to do. Terrible. 8-year-old kid Tortellino. Thanks, Snake Oil Scrub, for subscribing. Thanks for supporting the stream. What's today, the 23rd? A reminder, even though I announced it yesterday, I'm going to announce it every day that I stream. Next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there will be no chess stream because Archer and I are going to Charlotte for a chess tournament. There will be poker streams from Karen, of course. Hey, Rurf May. Yeah, we hit 500 subs yesterday during the stream. Maybe we can hit it again today. I was broke before you were born. Hello, Cham Simed. Sit Bear subscribed at tier 1. It is I, Sit Bear. Go, Sit Bear. Don't forget it's Sub Sunday, so if you're watching the stream, you're required to sub. Hi, Boom. Gotcha. Jim Can Chess gifted a sub to Yabba Dabba Doo 2. Hey, Kingpin. Kingpin's a sub. What? I saw Pawn Sacrifice in the theater in St. Louis, and I was one of the lower rated players in the theater. Damn. Sitting in front of me were Kasparov and Aronian. And they weren't even the best players in the room. You were here yesterday. Hey, we have a hype train. I didn't even notice. Go hype train. iChess TV. I'm Ben. Today's Sub Sunday. We analyze games from subs that were submitted earlier via Discord. We do that every Sunday. It's one of the benefits of subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hype train and stuff like that. People ask a lot of questions when I stream about how to get a higher rating and how to play better and what opening should I learn, what book should I read. You're talking to the wrong guy. I recommend learning chess at the age of 1 or 2 and growing up in a chess family where your family takes you to tournaments. You have siblings and parents that play. You play chess all the time. You get grandmaster coaches on the internet. That's what you do to get good. If you're 30 and you've been 1300 for 20 years, I don't know what to tell you. You missed the boat. How many shirt colors do you have? Infinite? You know, I have a normal amount of shirts for a person my age. Nah, the boat keeps going. I did do laundry yesterday, so I have a lot more clean shirts than I did 2 days ago. This is the 3rd shirt I've worn today because I always spill stuff on my shirts. Probably have about 100, 140 shirts, somewhere in there. But some of them are dress shirts, so I never wear them. Our dogs are mixed breeds. They're both very big dogs. They weigh 70 to 90 pounds. They bark really loud. Does leveling up on the hype train do anything? Yes. If somebody could give 200 bits or a sub in the next 10 seconds, we'll level up. I guess we didn't level up. Man, the truth hurts. We missed the train. Yeah, we got level 5, 6, I think yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Okay, we'll start what we're supposed to do in the stream. Okay, first game is from Sit Bear, which is usually the case. He wrote, the only thing I remember about this game is the guy I was playing was fussy about everything and altogether very anal. Then he blundered. Okay, and our hero is white, 1629. That's Sit Bear. And he's playing NN, who's 1431. Time control is 40 moves in 80 minutes, followed by sudden death 30 with a 30-second delay throughout. You can't send your game, that's already done. You can send your game next week. Good luck. Okay. So Sit Bear is white. This is a slow game. Typically, if white wants to get an advantage against bishop f5, white plays c4. Tries to attack the center, and then perhaps an early queen b3, pressuring d5 and b7. But Sit Bear plays the Kali, and people who play the Kali in London typically aren't looking for the best moves. They're just trying to play the moves they remember. So he played e3, bishop d3, b3, the Kali Zukertort, and see, I like the way Sit Bear is playing, because most people spend 95% of their time wondering what opening to play, when it doesn't matter what opening you play. You should play an opening you like. It doesn't matter if grandmasters play it. It doesn't matter what the engine says. You should play something that you enjoy, that you feel comfortable in. And so engine doesn't say white's better, but this is what Sit Bear wants to do. That's how you should play the opening. You should do what you want to do, not what somebody else does. And you don't want to spend 95% of your time studying the opening to the detriment of the rest of the game, which is what most people do. Conversely, grandmasters and stronger spend most of their time studying the opening because they're already familiar with the niceties of chess regarding tactics and strategy, but they would like to be better after 10 or 15 moves every game if possible against people of their own strength. And of course, the mistake people make is they try to study chess the way somebody that better than them studies chess, which isn't what you should be doing. You should be studying chess so you get better, not so you try to play like somebody who's better than you. So Sit Bear did a good job by not trying for too much, but getting a position he feels comfortable with. Engine says these moves are all fine. Nobody's better. Everybody's happy. DC5 is good because Sit Bear was sitting, because he's Sit Bear, waiting for bishop d6. So then when he takes the pawn, black has to move the bishop again. I wouldn't play knight e5, but I'm not going to complain about it. Engine says it's all zeros because nobody really has an advantage worth talking about. Knight d7 is a good move, kicking the bishop out. Ooh, f5. F5 isn't the computer move, but it seems like that's the move black wanted to play, and it doesn't get a losing position. So it's okay. It's not a move I would have thought of, but F5's okay, I guess. Yeah, and D4 is a strategical mistake. White doesn't want to play D4 because that gives up the E4 square. What White actually wants to do, surprisingly, is play E4. And that hits at the center, tries to mess up black's pawn structure. And so the engine move is rook E1 with the idea of playing E4. Okay, but again, it doesn't matter much. Most things in chess don't matter, then somebody hangs a queen. So, most of the game is about equal, then somebody hangs something. Sitbear didn't hang anything, so I have no complaint about his moves or his opponents. It says King H8 is dubious, but King H8's okay. I guess black wants to play G5, G4, which may not be engine recommended, but it's interesting. Or maybe he doesn't want to play G5, G4, he just played King H8 for no reason. That's probably hit the nail on the head there. Bishop A3 is good because white's bishop is behind their center pawns. Black's bishop is really good on D6. With no black pawns distracting the bishop. So trading the bishops gives white an advantage. And if black wants to attack with F5 and G5 and G4, white would be interested in trading material. The engine doesn't like B6 because B6 gives up C4. So now engine says black is about equal by playing knight B6, knight C4. Whereas before that, black can't do that. C4 square is protected. So engine wants to play rook A2 and fight for the C file. And then if this knight ever moves, white can play knight E5, and the white knight can sit on E5, only being kicked out by the black knight. Conversely, the black knight can't sit on the counterpart E4 because white could just play F3, kicking it out. That's one of the negatives of F5, is it weakens the E5 square. B4 weakens the C4 square. Okay, black played rook C4, which is fine. B5 is fine. Engine doesn't like rook C8 because white can win a pawn now by playing knight D2, attacking the rook, and then there's a lot of pressure on A6. And by a lot of pressure on A6, I mean white's going to win the pawn on A6. So engine prefers black trade on B5 before doubling rooks. So now white can play knight D2 with a very large advantage, or white could take here first, but then if white plays knight D2, rook C6 would defend the pawn. So white played correctly knight D2, and black loses a pawn because if he takes the knight, then his rook isn't defended. And eventually, if nothing happens the next 10 moves, then, that pawn's pretty good. If you're going to be up a pawn, that's a pretty good pawn to be ahead. It's hard for black to get counterplay because black's knight isn't really participating, and frankly, neither is the queen. So white's a pawn ahead. Queen f8 was the best move. Very suspicious. Attacking the rook on a3 while simultaneously defending the rook on c8. So black is threatening queen takes rook and rook takes knight because now the rook is defended. So queen f8 was the best move. White played rook d3. The engine prefers knight b1, but knight b1's a hard move to play because it looks stupid. So rook d3 is still giving white an advantage. Black defended his e-pawn, which the engine recommends. And engine doesn't like the move rook a2, but it's very natural. Put the rook behind the pawn, double up on the bubble up, or play rook a8. So rook a2 is a very logical human move, just the engine doesn't like it. Yeah, and the engine wants to play a5, so the pawn is defended by the knight. Yeah, and rook a8 just loses because the two rooks for the queen plus the passed a pawn, black doesn't have any counterplay. So what black needed to do was play rook a3. Then black has good drawing chances because black's threatening the knight on b3 and black's threatening rook a8. So rook a3, the engine only says white is up 0.4. So not really winning, but better for white. Queen takes rook. Yeah, this is a winning endgame because black doesn't have any attack. Black has no points to attack. White has an obvious plan. And black's knight, if it moves, lets white play knight c5, which is fantastic. On the other hand, if you don't move, it's also not so good. So even though it's a small material advantage, two rooks and a pawn for a queen, engine says white is +4. Okay, so black went crazy because black probably realized it's probably losing, and he played e5, trying to get some counterplay in the center. Knight c5, because if you trade knights, then white has two passed pawns, can put rooks behind both of them, and then push them. The queen can't stop the two pawns, so engine plays knight b8 or knight b6. Okay, engine doesn't like that move. Now it says white's +5. Yeah, now a queen's not good at stopping passed pawns that are defended by rooks because the pawns just keep pushing. There's no counterplay. So white should win this fairly simply. Yeah, the queen can't block both the pawns. White put rooks behind both the pawns. Whichever one the queen blocks, push the other one. White decided, instead of pushing this pawn, that he wants to play rook b8. It's hard to argue. Yeah, rook b8's a good move because then you queen. And black isn't threatening queen b1 because the rook on b8 defends b1. So now white is up an exorbitant amount of material. Very good game by Sitbear. Queen d3 is dubious? Man. It seems like all moves lose immediately, so I don't know why that would be dubious. Now the engine has several suggestions leading to mate in 5. That's one of them. That's the human move, queen a6 check, because it's human to be moved. Seinfeld. And because that checks and attacks the queen, with the queens off the board, white doesn't have to worry that he's going to allow a back rank checkmate. Although, if engine was playing, white would have played queen f8 check and given mate soon. But queen a6 is more human. And black, realizing the queens are coming off the board, and he'll be down 2 rooks. And is it a rook ending if you don't have any rooks? I mean, white has rooks, so it's a rook ending for him. Black resigned. Yeah, queen a6 wins quicker because black resigned. It's trying to learn. So Sitbear played well that game. His opponent made 2 minor mistakes for somebody that rating. So I would say NN played pretty good for NN. On the other hand, you could argue that white's up 2 rooks, so maybe black didn't play so well. Sitbear has discovered the mysteries of chess. Don't blunder, then when your opponent blunders, win. Your opponent's blunder was very minor, giving up 2 rooks for a queen. I've seen worse blunders. But unfortunately, your opponent also played knight takes c5, giving you a second passed pawn. That was also quite bad. Then you had 2 passed pawns, 1 for each of them. I don't know, NN's pretty consistent, except when NN's playing Sitbear. But if you look at old chess books, NN doesn't do very well. Consistently losing. My coffee's not as hot as it used to be. I can't sue anybody. Anyway, that was a pretty reasonable game for Sub Sunday. Too reasonable. Time to start the procedure. NN was due. Yeah, you guys got to give kudos to Sitbear. No, Karen wants the bookcase moved. She's been complaining about it being there ever since it's been there. So she took all the books off. And then the idea is that the 4 of us, me, Holden, Archer, and Karen, can move the bookshelf over there to my right, like 5 feet. Then put the books back on. And then eventually we'll put something behind us that's nice to look at. I don't know. In my opinion, the bookcase is too heavy for regular people to move it. I think we tried to move it before, and we just hired somebody to move it. I'm also worried it's going to fall apart if we move it, because we're not going to do it right. But when that time comes, that time will come. At what ELO do 1 to 2 move material blunders stop being the main decider for a game? I don't know, probably never. Is it an IKEA bookcase? I believe so. Giza, Romania asked a very long, complicated question with no answer. Make sure when you ask questions, they're not like 12 paragraphs. Make it like, I always lose, why? And then I'll make fun of you. And then everybody will laugh, and we can go on. I can't read all that and understand it and then give you a real answer. That's not the purpose of this stream. The purpose of this stream is to entertain. Yeah, I always draw. Why? That's a good question. Maybe you're a painter. But I digress. Let's talk seriously. If you were an American and you weren't offered a job, you just decided on your own, I'll move to Romania. Okay, why would you do that? I understand if you have a job and you get paid a lot of money, or your girlfriend lives in Romania and you move in with her. I understand that. But it seems like the Tate brothers moved to Romania, which I don't understand. Yeah, it's about the Tate brothers. You like the flag? No, I mean, if a reporter asked the Tate brothers, why did you move to Romania? And they answered honestly, what would the answer be? We like Romania better than the US? How do you even know? How do you know, like, if you like Romania? What are Tate brothers doing in Romania? Who goes to Romania? Are they Romanian? No. He was from Norway and was contemplating moving to Romania. Oh, there you go. Oh, they said they want to do their activities without being prosecuted. Okay. Well, I guess they did answer it honestly. So if you want to commit crimes but not get in trouble for your crimes, you search the globe for a country that would help you do your crimes and not get caught. And they decided Romania was a good option. No, Emery Tate was an international master, not a GM. Me and Emery Tate were like that, son. The best thing about Romania is on Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry David has a Romanian Uber driver. Man, that guy gets really mad at Larry David. Is Emery Tate okay? He died about 10 years ago, so he's the same. Nothing's really changed about him in the last few years. Is it normal that someone in the 1200 to 1500 can see good moves in other people's games, but when he plays, don't perform well? Yes. Sunny and snowy Saskatchewan. Were you and Emery Tate actually tight? Yeah, me and Emery Tate got along pretty well. He wasn't the sanest person who ever lived. How do we submit games? Help, I don't understand. Well, you spell games with 4 S's. That was your first problem. The only way to submit games is to type !analysis and do what it says. And very few people can do that, so we have very few games submitted. Basically, whenever I stream, everybody makes fun of me saying I don't know how the internet works and how my computer works and how hardware works and how software works. And then when it's time to submit a game for Sunday, there's 2,000 people watching and 6 people submit games because the other people can't figure out how. And they ask how in the chat, and then they say, I can't get my Discord and my Twitch connected, and I don't understand how to do anything, and so forth. I will admit, if I wasn't the streamer and I was watching somebody else's stream and they told me to connect my Discord to my Twitch, I would have Holden do that because I wouldn't know how to do it. But at least I know somebody who could do it. Or Karen could do it. Precocious username subscribed. Is Bart versus Australia one of your favorite Simpsons episodes? It's quite good. I don't know if it's one of my favorites. It's pretty good. Man, Karen taking the books off the bookshelf causes me 5 to 6 times a stream to explain why. And I explained why about 10 minutes ago. Then somebody logged into the stream and said, hey, why is the bookshelf empty? Man, the truth hurts. I recommend if there's questions about stuff like why are Hans and Kramnik so crazy, that you show up when the stream starts. Because let's say Kramnik sends a crazy tweet and Hans responds with a crazier tweet, and then Kramnik is upset because Hans's tweet is crazier, so he's insulted. And then we talk about it when the stream starts, then you guys show up an hour late and you're like, hey, did you see that Hans tweet? And I'm like, we talked about it for 20 minutes. So when you show up late for the stream and you start asking questions about current events, that means we've discussed it 2 or 3 times already. The episode with Johnny Carson, if you're talking about The Simpsons, that had a lot of guest stars. That had like 7 guest stars. Yes, in fact, I have a student, and occasionally they play Birds Opening. And the last lesson, I showed him a game I played in 1984 where I played the Birds Opening. Might be the last time I ever played it. Do you think Wrench and Alabest will throw money at Kramnik to make him stop? I'm not sure what that means. They're not going to give Kramnik any money. I watched South Park before you were born. Then when you were born, I stopped watching it. Okay, let's look at the second game. There's a lot of colors in this game, and that's bad. When there's a lot of colors that are red and orange, and there's a lot of X's and question marks and double question marks, it's all over the game. This was a 10-minute game. Both players were 1930. Let's see what White had to say for himself. Hi, Ben. Here's another game I played in my quest to achieve 2,000, a rating which I think you'll agree I am well deserving of. White is your hero. Okay, and the players are both about 1930, and this was a 10-minute game played on chess.com. And this game was played last week. Pretty recent game. Again, White is our hero. Okay, White played the King's Gambit. Black took, which is a good move. Knight f3 is a good move. d6 is a good move. d4 is reasonable. g5 is the best move. Poingala subscribed. Hooray! I'm not familiar with knight c3, but to be frank, I'm not familiar with anything. g4 seems like a good move. Now, White sacrificed a piece, the Museo Gambit. Possibly, this isn't exactly the Museo Gambit. But the engine recommends sacrificing the piece. So it doesn't say that that's bad. So this looks like Morphy versus Amateur. Because basically all of Morphy's games look like this. Knight c6 is a good move. Bishop b5 is a good move. Engine likes these moves. Bishop d7. Long castles is good. Okay, in this position, it says Black should put it in H. And the funny thing is, Black did put it in H, but not the way the engine wants. The engine says Queen h4 is the best move. I guess the idea of Queen h4 is Black is threatening Queen takes bishop check, Queen takes queen, bishop h6, getting the queen back, and thus being a piece ahead and trading queens. Second best move is h5. This is according to the engine. I guess h5, Black wants to play bishop g4. I don't know. Anyway, Black did put it in H. The engine didn't like it. Bishop h6. Now it says White should take the bishop, knight takes, queen f4 attacking the knight, followed by rook f1, knight d5, bishop c4, and White has a very strong position. Better for White. But White played knight d5, which the engine gives double question mark to. I don't know why. Knight d5 looks okay. Definitely wouldn't give it double question mark. Now the engine says that black is winning. I guess that's why I get double question mark. Bishop f4 is correct. And now it says black only has one move that wins. Knight on c6 to e7 with the idea of trading more pieces. If I was black, I'd be worried about knight e7 because like rook f1 and queen f7, scared. Black played h6. I assume the idea is to play queen g5 and trade queens. However, if black did play queen g5 and traded queens, white would trade queens and then play knight c7 check, knight takes rook. So h6 is not a good move. Now the engine likes white again. It doesn't like h4 because that's unnecessary. Queen g5 wasn't a threat. White could have played rook hf1, threatened queen f7 mate. And again, black should play knight c to e7. It says it's dubious, but rook f1 looks okay. And white has good compensation for a piece. Wow, the engine says black has a move here that's clearly better than other moves. You got to have a lot of guts to play this move. Black did not play it. Best move for black, according to the engine, is king d7. God damn. Get that king out of there. Yeah, it doesn't like that white has all this, attack on f7. Okay, black didn't play king d7. Don't really blame him. Played knight a5. Now white is winning tactically if he sees it, which he did not. Okay, white wins by taking on c7 with check. Black obviously takes. White takes on e6. And now engine says black should play rook h7 and white has a winning attack. If you take, then queen f8 check, rook f7 check, and black loses all of his pieces. Black loses the queen with check, then loses the rook. Says white is plus 10. So knight takes c7 check gives white a winning attack. Instead, white always retreated with knight c3. Engine doesn't like it. Doesn't like taking with the c pawn, but to be frank, I don't see how it matters in the long run. f6 isn't a good move. Black should play queen e7, defending his king some more. Or knight e7. Here, white should play e5, trying to bust open the center. Yeah, d5 is a bad move because it takes away the d5 square from the knight, and it stops white from playing e5. So d5 is definitely not a move white wants to play. Now the engine says white doesn't have enough compensation for a piece. It says black's winning. Always play king b1. On the other hand, black played f6 and white played king b1, so that overrides whatever the engine says. The engine says black's winning, but because those moves were made, it's clear that white will win, especially because I already know the result. Yeah, it just says black's up a piece. I think white has a pawn for the piece. But white doesn't have any attack to speak of because black, is blockade on e5. After bishop g4, black is no longer winning. Engine says queen e5 is the best move, and rook c8 is the second best move, and black is up 3. After this, it says it's equal because the bishop was like the only piece defending the black king, and black put it away from the black king. That means white's attack has chances now. Queen d3 is correct. And knight h6 is bad. Black should have retreated the bishop back to d7. Now white can start attacking with knight c6. Okay, white sacrificed a piece, which it says is unsound. It says knight c6, and white is much better. So white's building up the attack, which has good chances of working in a 10-minute game. The engine wants to play king d8 with the idea of queen b8 check, bishop c8. Then black can play rook f7 and defend c7. Then black's pretty much well defended, and black is up 2 minor pieces. But he played bishop e2, and the engine says white has forced checkmate. Bishop e2 was too greedy. Although I think I would play bishop e2. That attacks everything. Now white has forced checkmate, all with checks. That's the correct check. Obviously, king b8 walks into rook b4, which is mate. And that's a mistake. Queen c6 check leads to checkmate. This leads to a draw if black defends properly. And rook c1 check is a blunder. If white plays queen a7 check, it's a draw. Now black's winning with king b8. Okay, but he blundered checkmate in 2 moves. Black should play king b8, and then white's rook doesn't have any way to get into the attack. I guess we can play... Oh, we can't play rook c6. Our queen's hanging. Okay. After king b8, white has to do something about his hanging queen. And then if white plays queen check, we have queen b7. Black's up a lot of material. Instead, black walked into checkmate. And now white has several checkmates, according to the engine. The quickest one, I assume, is what white played. Yeah. And then mate. Now, you guys can't see where you're sitting, but typically, if mistakes are made, you see a question mark or an X or double question mark or dubious, and it puts those moves in different colors. And then regular moves are just in white. And this game, almost every move had a color because it didn't like the way either side played. It didn't like the way white attacked. Didn't like the way black defended. Typically, if you sacrifice unsoundly in a 10-minute game, you'll still win because defending is hard. Black couldn't defend at the end. If he had played king b8, would have had a winning position. It doesn't mean he would have won, but his position would have been winning. And instead, he hung mate in 2. So that game had a lot of mistakes, even though the submitter said it was the greatest game ever, and so forth. $2,000 viewers, what else? The chat on YouTube is discussing Tesla and Tesla bots. Tesla bots on YouTube. Confusing the audience, which is me. Hikaru deservedly won the match. Good match, good tournament, etc. For Karen's chess rating, type exclam Karen. No, I haven't played shogi. Karen doesn't have a FIDE rating. I've played Go, but I don't understand it. How many games are you talking? There's no number of games, just play a lot of chess. Have you ever played bridge? Yes, I've played many bridge tournaments. Dozens and dozens. I have about 550 master points. My team won a regional once. That was cool. And I've qualified for the nationals for Flight C. And in Kansas City about 30 years ago, we came in third. I've also played in backgammon tournaments, but I'm better at bridge. I play whatever bidding system my partner wants to play. My regular partner and I used to play precision, but he forgot everything all the time, so then we stopped. Let's see, who's texting me? Oh, I can check my email. It says I'm streaming live on YouTube. That was a good email. Are you still professor at SLSCC? Confusing question. Go Ben is correct. Okay, let's look at another game. Hi, Ben. Daily game played recently on chess.com. Fairly solid game, I think. Spent a lot of time deciding between 24 rook e8 and 24 rook takes g7. Though I think they both win. As always, I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you. Okay, and white is 1316. Black is 1485. This is 3 days per move. And white is our hero. Bishop g5 is an unusual move. Not bad. Transpose it to more normal positions. The engine already doesn't like knight e4 because of what white did. I wouldn't be in a hurry to play knight e4 if I was black. I would play moves like castles, c5, knight c6, etc. Now it says white has a nice advantage. Doesn't like black's doubled pawn. Well, that move just hangs the e-pawn. Maybe black thought they could play queen d5 and win material. But I can just defend my knight then, so. Okay, so white's up a pawn on move 8. That's good. The engine prefers bishop c4 check. And then knight c5, try to infiltrate on e6. But knight c3 is okay. Yeah, it says black's lost because black has no development on the queen side. It prefers white playing knight d5, threatening the bishop on d4. Castles is okay. The engine just likes white. Now it says white has one winning move, and white played it. It seems like a tough move to find, but he found it. Knight g5. And idea is white's threatening queen g6 with mate, and also knight f7 check, forking the king and queen. So engine says white has a winning position now. Rook e1's good move. So best move in the position nobody would play, knight h7. That's a strange move. The idea is it threatens the rook, and it also threatens the e7 pawn. Rook d1 seems like more of a human move. White is a human. Boy, now knight h7 is even better. Knight e4 is a good move. I think this is the position where you were wondering, should you play rook e8 or rook takes g7? And engine says they're both completely winning. I don't know which one you played, but whichever one you played is winning. Okay, now the engine announces mate, because black's queen side isn't very well developed. It says bishop g7 resigns. I assume black realized white can play queen h6 check, then queen g7 mate. That's one of your better games, Jim. You played really well. I don't have a lot of notes on how you could play better, but I have a lot of notes on how black could play better. Black moved his queen about 8 times and never moved the queenside pieces until it was too late. And your opponent was higher rated than you. That's a pretty good win. So, good game. Well done. Eh? Somebody texted me? No, it actually wasn't Karen. It was a friend of mine in Michigan. He watches the stream occasionally. Texting me like he doesn't know I'm streaming right now. That was a very good game from you, Jim. You did basically nothing wrong. And Black did a lot of things that were wrong. As a consequence, you won material and checkmated your opponent. If somebody would give 2 subs, since it is Sub Sunday, then we would have 500 subs. I'm not sure how that helps, but I like having 500 subs, and then 600 and so forth. Then 1 billion subs. Trying to Learn gave 5 subs, confusing the audience because now we have more than 500 subs. He's making it a buffer. That's good. Thanks, Trying to Learn 1, 2, 3, 4. Give him a sub. Do as I say. It's Sub Sunday, so if somebody asks for a sub, you're all required to give them a sub. First come, first serve. Redbird Flag Chest gifted a sub. Thank you. Grandmaster Gus, a game that I lost. That's all that he said. This game was played in 2022. White was rated 2015, and Gus's rating was 1870. It was played in some tournament. Doesn't say what the time control was, but I assume it was slow chess. So far, a perfect game. Bishop c4 is not very common. The engine is very interested in knight takes e4. It says that's an equalizer, although it also likes the move you played, b5. I think if you're trying to get double-edged position, probably b5 is better. If you're looking for banal equality, then maybe knight takes e4. The engine prefers bishop f1. Always play bishop f1. Not a fan of taking on d4. Wants to play bishop b7, and then knight bd7. Bishop d2? That's a strange move. The engine just says this is equal. Boy, the best move is knight b1. And he played knight b1? The engine says that's the best move. Surprising move. Well, I guess he wanted to play bishop c3. So here it says b4 is the best move. And then it gives some crazy tactical line with bishop takes b4, bishop takes e4. Wow. This is the engine line. Doesn't seem very human. Then you're threatening the rook and the bishop. And it says this is equal. Somehow this is all zeros. Then if he doesn't take the pawn, then queen b5 is equal. Also all zeros. Okay, but nobody's doing that. The next best move it says is d5. And then if he plays e5, you play knight e4. It says white is very slightly better. You played bishop d8, which is okay. It doesn't like bishop c7. Too slow. It doesn't like knight h4. Now it wants you to play bishop d8 or queen d8. Yeah, you played bishop d8. Ooh, knight a8. It doesn't like knight a8, but it says white's only slightly better. It doesn't like that move. Now it says you should play e5 and black is better. Yeah, I can believe that. Attack white center. Very double-edged move. Also, d5 is good. Again, if e5, then knight e4, and it prefers black. If I was black, I wouldn't be brave enough to play e5. Too many white pieces on e5. But definitely, I would be intrigued by d5, e5, knight e4. That's something I could see myself playing. Bishop b6 is okay. Nothing wrong with that. Now e5 gives you a big advantage, and you played e5. Now the engine says you're doing great. You got white's king caught in a little crossfire here. How you like that, Wyatt? It says f5 is double question mark, and now d5 wins. +4. Damn, +4. Because if he takes the d pawn, you take with the queen, and you're lining up on the bubble up. So it says d5 just wins, like winning position. Plus 4.3 for black. Yeah, f5's terrible, blocking the knight. It's a Sicilian lover's dream, and it's not even a pizza. It's e5 and d5. That's why you play the Sicilian. Knight c7. Now it says black's better, but not winning. King f1's the best move. Now d5 doesn't work because this isn't pinned. This just leads to equality. And that's a blunder, knight h5. You should have played knight g4. Then the engine says it's about equal. But some crazy equal. Like very complicated, both sides resign, etc. Yeah, the knight on h5 is like hung out to dry there. Knight takes e4 is the best move. Yeah, the engine just says he's +6. Queen d1 check. If he moves his king, you take his queen and you're barely winning, it says. You're only plus 1.37. That's a good trick at the end, hoping he doesn't see queen takes queen. Unfortunately, he did. That would work better in a blitz or a bullet game. Yeah, no, I understand. I know why you did it. Dr. Poopies, you should never watch ads. You should subscribe to the stream, especially on Sub Sunday. Yeah, you were doing well that game until you played knight h5. And you played d5 one move too late when his d pawn wasn't pinned anymore. It's games like that that make somebody want to quit chess and start playing poker. Somebody give Dr. Poopies a sub so he doesn't have to watch ads anymore. Terrible. If you're watching on Sub Sunday, you're required to gift subs. That's why it's called Sub Sunday. We're trying to get subs. How does one gift a sub? Well, I'm watching the stream, and under the video of me, it says gift a sub. And then it says manage your sub. And that's above the number of people that are watching. So on my stream, I can click gift a sub. I assume it's the same at everybody's stream. I don't know. Your Majesty gifted a sub. Thanks, Your Majesty. Heather from Charlotte gifted a sub to Dr. Poopies. You can give random subs where you don't know who gets the sub, or you can give specific subs by typing in the member's name. One way to gift a sub to a specific member is to click on the member's name. Either right click or left click, nobody knows. And then gift a sub is one of the options. That'll gift that person that sub. That's the easy way to give somebody a sub. Richard gave $2. Does sub mean super chat? No, I'm talking to the people on Twitch. But you did good for $2. You can actually become a member on YouTube that's similar to subbing on Twitch and financially, but you don't get the benefits of subbing on Twitch. Basically, you're just supporting the stream. The hype train is incoming. If we get 100 bits or 1 sub, we'll have a hype train. It'll be our second hype train of the stream. If you're a Twitch sub, then you can play me on Saturdays and you can have your games analyzed on Sundays. So it's the best $5 you've ever spent. Unless Subway has a special $5 subs, then that's probably better. Now usually the specials are $6.99. It's $8 now. What? I've never been so mad. Why don't YouTube subs get the same benefits? Because YouTube subs don't pay anything. Twitch subs pay money. In Canada, subs are $16. Yeah, but that's like $2 American, so that's cheap. What's my favorite Johnny Cash song? That's a good question. Karen and I at karaoke used to sing Johnny Cash duet song with his wife. I think it was I'm Going to Jackson. And then I would always stop the song and say, why would somebody go to Jackson? 100 bits from Squire 377. Should I buy your Sicilian Chessable course? Yes. I actually have 2 Sicilian courses. One is a general course for black, and one is very specific. 100 bits again from Dankel16. Those reasons don't seem reasonable. I like many Johnny Cash songs. I don't know which one's my favorite. They're all tied for first. What ELO is that course best for? Whatever your ELO is. I don't think I said anything about Kramnik and Hans today. Jeff Lynn's name is Jeff, not the other way you spelled it. Very suspicious. Trying to learn. Although you meant Mississippi, you typed MI, which is Michigan. Mississippi is MS. It's about Jackson, Mississippi. There is a Jackson, Michigan, and they claim to be the home of the Republican Party where they first met. There's another city in the U.S. that claims that also. Jackson, Michigan is about 30 miles west of Ann Arbor. You don't recognize Mississippi. The joke is you don't recognize Missouri. But yeah, that's okay. Yeah, Mark got it. Yeah. C.L. Smith from Alabama likes the fact that Mississippi exists. C.L. Smith, have you ever been to Jackson, Mississippi? You live in Alabama. How far could you be? The hype train's at level 1, and the last hype train we had also died at level 1. Let's try to get to level 2 this time. Go, hype train. You bought my Sicilian course? Good, good. The more courses you buy, the more money I have. My wife is from southern Alabama. She grew up in Dothan. How do I give you the most money? I don't know. Find your mom's credit card. No, we died at level 1 again. That's twice. Okay, let's look at another game. Hi, Ben. This was an OTB game, 50 minutes, 5-0, with 10-second bonus per move. I found out after my opponent is about 1900 chess.com rapid. I am about 1300. I was white, I lost. Messy opening left me down in exchange, but with an aggressive position. I wanted to break open the center and attack, but I didn't manage to. What went wrong? Okay, so game 50 with 10-second increment, I guess. Then our hero is white. It's a Grunfeld. Still theory. Yeah, this is a complicated theoretical line where the engine says it's mutual chances. Yeah, c3 is not a good square for the queen because the bishop might want to go there, and the rook on c8 is going to gain a tempo when the rook goes to the open file. So engine says queen d3 is equal. Now it says black is better. Doesn't like that move either. Well, that seems reasonable. Here it wants you to play e5, but you decided you were going to play for f4, which currently is illegal. So you played king h1, which engine doesn't like the idea of king h1 and f4. Too slow. And it says that's a blunder, and you should play rook b1, pinning his bishop. But having said A, you said B. Queen b5 is a good move. And your opponent played the best move, rook c2. Black has played really well this game. Yeah, now it's just lost. White was hoping for rook takes e5, bishop g7. And I guess White resigned. I mean, Black played really well that game. You made very small mistakes. Your first mistake was queen c3. You should play queen d3. And then king h1's a mistake. F4 idea is too slow. Then f4 is a mistake. You should play rook b1. But you're 1300 and you played better than your rating. But your opponent was 1900. It's hard to overcome 600 rating point difference when it's a slow game. And it's a sharp Grunfeld. Complicated. So for losing the game, you played very well. You made 4 or 5 small mistakes that don't matter much, but when you add them up, then they matter. And your opponent played very well. So probably if Kramnik saw this game, he would start the procedure because Black played too well. That was a good game. Yeah. I like streaming because I can charge my phone. No, I mean, considering White was rated 1300 something, that's a pretty good game. Okay, we're 94 subs away from 600 subs. So if I have any super wealthy viewers, don't forget to give 94 subs. It'll help the stream out tremendously. I also play poker. Karen and I are going to Vegas for the World Series for 2 weeks, June, July. I'll be in Vegas before that. Also, for the National Open, I'm working at the tournament. Although I probably won't play poker while I'm working at the National Open because they don't have a poker room at the Flamingo. I don't want to leave and come back and work. Since I'll be playing poker when I get there in a week, it seems like I could just wait. Do they have a blackjack room at the Flamingo? Yes. Probably about half the casinos in Vegas don't have poker. CL Smith, you going to National Open this year or World Series of Poker? Any kind of poker? Chess? Go CL Smith. No, I don't play slots. Did you ever play on the President in St. Louis? I don't know. Yeah, you should get some cream for that, CL Smith. That'll fix you right up. A famous person died yesterday, and you're asking if we've heard about it? This is the internet age. We knew he died before he died. It's Bonarici. He gets all his news from the stream. George Foreman was 76. What almost nobody knows, there's almost 2,000 people watching the stream, and I'm going to bet less than 5 of you know. George Foreman was on an episode of Sanford and Son playing George Foreman. And he was an actor, and Red Fox took over directing the acting troupe they had. And he told George Foreman to hit the wall harder. He was supposed to be mad. And he broke his hand, so he couldn't fight, so he had to leave. You know, in the show. Obviously, that didn't happen. Yeah. $10 from Matthew Williamson on YouTube, etc. Fund. Funds for etceteras. Okay, let's look at another game. Although I hate to do it. It's Bonarici. Like somebody I know, Walter Almquist. I mean, I know of him. There are a lot of moves in this game I can't explain. For instance, why play King H8 on move 18 instead of G6? To provoke bishop takes H7 later in the game? That did happen, and I did trap the bishop. However, the extra bishop didn't give me an edge. White soon lost his way prosecuting the attack, and that led to a 1 endgame. Bonarici exclaims he doesn't understand his own moves, then explains the move. Yeah, it was in Battle Creek. This was at the Michigan Open, 1995. So my understanding of this position is black plays D5. But Bonarici played D6. Now the engine says white's better. But the engine plays bishop G5. Or knight E3, controlling D5 square. Instead, white played knight G3, which is not a good move. The knight's not well placed on G3. Now you could play D5, but you waited. The waiting was the hardest part. Okay, now the engine says it's equal. Very reasonable. Well, the engine wants you to play rook e8 here. Doesn't like bishop f6. It says you're in trouble after bishop c5. I guess tactically, bishop c5 wins material because if you play rook e8, he has knight d6, which attacks your rook and also attacks the bishop on d5. Engine says white's +2 after bishop c5. So bishop f6, bad. He played c3, so now he's PO'd. Knight e7 is fine. Engine says this is equal. This is where you played king h8. Bam. King h8's not terrible. I would play g6 because I would want to play bishop g7 and f5. But okay, I mean, king h8's okay. Engine says this is all equal. It says that's equal. Somehow this is equal. It says rook takes rook is equal and queen c5 is equal. All zeros. Now it says queen h6 check is the only move, otherwise black's winning. And he played it. It doesn't like queen takes rook. Wants to play pawn takes rook, keeping the pressure on the bishop. And it says that's all zeros. Now it says black is much better. And it says that's terrible. He should have played queen f2. Now it says you're winning. Because you have an attack against his king, and your extra bishop is more important than his pawns. His pawns aren't dangerous. It says bishop d5 check is a mistake. Queen d5 check is superior, followed by bishop h3. And then it says you're plus 3.5. Yeah, this is good winning chances for black. I don't know if it's winning, but good winning chances. Exciting pawn race we have here. Wow, it says that's a mistake, and now it's equal if white plays the amazing move c4. It says you should have played rook h2, then you were winning. c4 is equal. I guess after c4, if you take with the rook, you can't get your rook behind the h-pawn. If you take with the bishop, then I play h7 and king f6 and it's a draw, it says. I mean, I would take with the pawn, but somehow that's a draw. Nobody would find c4 unless he found c4. I don't know what he played. Yeah, he played king f6. Now you're winning. That's the only winning move. And then that's a mistake. You should play king g8 and you're winning. And g5 is a mistake. He should have played king d4, it says. With drawing chances. Man, this game's too exciting. Okay, king d4 is ridiculous. Why would he hang his g5 pawn? Any king move is better. King here, king here. Defending your pawn on g5. Black's still winning, but Black has some work to do. He just gave away his G-pawn. Bishop E8 exclam. Probably your opponent missed that move when he played King D4. Probably thought you were going to go here, and then it's a draw. Yeah, he shouldn't move his king away from the queen side. Now it's a very easy win. Before it was tough. It says he resigned here. Yeah, unfortunately, he can't get the wrong colored rook pawn draw because his king can't get to the corner. Taking either way wins. And then you just have to play bishop b3. And then you queen your pawn. That was a very instructive game. I didn't think Walter Almquist was that good. I thought he was 1,500. But he played way better than 1,500 that game. Yeah, nobody would think of c4. Bonarici wins 30 years ago or 40 years ago. Let's see, is it 30 or 40? 95 is 30 years ago. I was close. That game was exciting. Both sides had passed pawns. Funky Monk 50 was 50 30 years ago. No. Do you live in Germany? 9. I live in suburban Atlanta in Georgia. Well, we got to 500 subs today. That's good. And then we have one more game to look at that was submitted slightly late, but good enough. Tomorrow, they're going to show the St. Louis Blitz tournament, which is going to have a lot of grandmasters on the St. Louis Chess Club channel. The American Cup is over. Hikaru and Alice Lee won, and now they're going to have a Blitz tournament with lots of grandmasters. I know that Hans wanted to play in the Blitz tournament. He was talking about it on the internet. Then he stopped talking about it. I guess he's not playing. I don't know. Yeah, Alice Lee's only 15. She seems to have good chances to become a grandmaster soon. Who was Lee's coach? I don't know. I don't know who anybody's coach is. I used to know stuff. Now I'm out of the loop. Hi, Ben. This was played in a FIDE rated 90 plus 30 tournament. I was worried he would play bishop takes h6 at some point. Finally, I beat a kid. And Tortolino is our hero. He's black, 1700. His opponent, it says, is an 8-year-old kid, 1500. Okay, so Tortolino is our hero. I can't believe we're rooting for a guy against an 8-year-old kid. Man, tough. It's the Philidor. Black played an unusual move here that I'm not familiar with. Typically, white plays d4 here. And the move I'm familiar with is bishop e7, stopping knight g5, so we can play knight f6 and castle. Tortolino played more aggressively with bishop g4. Yeah, d3 doesn't really promise very much. Tortolino going queenside, it looks like, although he didn't. So Tortolino was just stopping bishop b5. He wanted to get the two bishops. That's why he played queen d7. Very sneaky of him. Yeah, white could play a4 here if white wants to maintain his bishop. It's a funny engine line here. Bishop d5, bishop takes f7 check, and b4. And engine says white is slightly better. If I had this position, I would have no idea who's better. But it says white's slightly better. And it continues with this. Knight takes e5, the best move. This is all computer analysis. And white is very slightly better. I wouldn't even know who's better here. Okay, none of that happened because that's all crazy talk. Instead, white played the usual bishop b3. Engine says this is equal. Now it says after f5, black has the advantage. It's a neat move. h6 is okay. Now white should play d4 before black plays f5. Yeah, now f5 and black has a nice position. Knight g6 is okay. Queen d2 I don't understand. I guess he's stopping knight f4. Yeah, now black's going to play d4 later and win material. So white has to be careful here. No, it says the best move is f6. The second best move is long castle, but he's short castled. Now the engine says it's equal, and it plays the move Tortolino was afraid of. It says bishop takes h6, and white is slightly better. In fact, the engine doesn't take the bishop. It just plays in the center. So you were afraid of bishop takes h6, and bishop takes h6 is the best move. So short castle wasn't good. Now somehow this is all zeros. Ooh, it says C4 question mark. That just loses a pawn because black can play queen d6, threatening here, and if white does something about queen h2, then black can just take on c4 and be a pawn ahead. The engine likes queen d6 and says black is a huge advantage. Instead he played here, now it says equal. And it says that's double question mark losing. It says queen c2 is equal and queen d3 is equal. That stops the rook from going to f3 because the queen can take the rook on g6. Black wants to play rook f3 and queen h3 and bust through on the king side. And white's move didn't stop that. And in this position, rook f3 is +4 for black because black's crashing through on the king side. And the engine line is this. And you can't take the rook because queen h3 and then queen g4 is one way to give mate, but this is a complicated way. Then rook h3, and you can't stop rook h1 mate, which is amazing. White has a lot of pieces on the board, but rook h1 mate is too strong. It can't be prevented. Okay, black played rook takes d5. Now white's fine. And queen e2 is just a one-move blunder. Obviously, black is threatening the queen, and black's threatening queen takes h3. So white should play queen c2. That's the only move. That threatens the rook on g6. Then you can't play queen takes h3 because queen takes rook on g6. After queen c2, engine says it's all zeros. Nobody's better. After here, we just play queen h3 and win. Yeah. So white saw his queen was hanging, but he forgot about queen h3, and he forgot about Dre. Probably he forgot about Dre because he's 8. That just hangs mate 1. So that game was very interesting, and then white needed to play queen c2 to keep the equality and played queen e2, just losing to queen takes h3. Very much like a sit-bear game. The game's about equal, then the opponent blunders and you win. And I would assume if I was 8 and my opponent played queen h2 mate, I would indeed cry. Well, probably he saw queen g2 was mate, and queen f1 stops it, and he knows never to play f3. It didn't matter what he did, he was going to get crushed on the king side. The best 8-year-olds in the world play at the World Cadet in the under 8 section and under 10 section, and they're better than everybody on the stream. Probably even better than me, the world under 10. Well, you do have to avoid cooties. That's why before they play in the World Cadet, they get their cootie shot. I don't think I would be the favorite against the world under 10 champion. They play too good now. If they give me rook odds and it's a slow game, then I'm the favorite. If the best 3-year-old is 1600, then I'm still better than him. Close. Doesn't mean I wouldn't lose occasionally, but I should get the drop on him. Never play symmetrical other than English. Sure. Anish Sarkar, that's like a GM and an IM mixed into one. I'm trying to figure out who to raid. I'm only following one chess streamer, and they just started streaming. So I guess that's good. Let's get to the beginning of the stream. Okay, I'll see you guys Tuesday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the stream. Bye, everybody.